What's up, guys? Welcome back. Crimson Knuckles here, and boy oh boy, the Colbert. This thing is absolutely ridiculous. The Mino has already been power crept before the campaign's even been officially finished. This thing is just ridiculous. It only has 127s, but I don't know what they did to the penetration values on this thing. They pen just about anything, and they hurt. The HE, AP, it doesn't matter what you're shooting, this thing will obliterate everything. The big thing you gotta watch out in this, even though the armor is 32 millimeter at least, bow and stern, it's a little bit thicker in the mid belt. You give any bit of angle in this thing and this will get deleted. Elite pens more so than the Minotaur. I've actually been citadeled by the Conqueror's HE in this thing. However, if this thing gets a foothold behind an island, or you're not shooting at it, this thing will obliterate you in seconds. You'll see in a couple minutes, actually the first couple salvos, it's going to be a Georgia and a Bismarck coming around. I'll take 3 salvos. The first one from like 12 kilometers is going to pen for about 6k with the high explosive. It's absolutely ridiculous, this thing. So you got the Bismarck there, there's the Georgia, and it sets fires like you wouldn't believe. I have 9.5% chance to set a fire. Alright, so 4k on the first salvo, but even still, 14, 15 kilometers, come on. First salvo on the Bismarck's a fire, first salvo on the Georgia's a fire. We can push into these battleships. We do have lower health, 36,000 health. So that's something you got to be weary of, but you can bounce their shells, even the Georgia shells, because it is 32 mil. And we're going to 1v1 that Minotaur when we come around this island. I was hoping to catch the Bismarck coming out around the island, but he stayed in. And just wait till we get up to that Minotaur. He's going to smoke up back there, but he's not going to be able to get too much damage off on the teammates behind me. This thing will absolutely rip him apart, because he can't angle with the high explosive on this. And the turret setup, you've got 4 turrets in the front. You can see it right now. You got 2 almost like a vertical, you know, one behind the other. However, the 2 that are a little bit higher up, they're more horizontal, and you can get your 4 turrets to fire bow in, which is something the Worcester cannot do. The Worcester is obsolete. When the Minotaur came out, it really put a hurting on the Worcester's effectiveness. You know, why take a Worcester over the Minotaur? But the Colbert, there's absolutely no point other than the radar, and if you want an AA platform. But the Colbert, even so, the AA on this thing is just as good as the Minotaurs, if not better. It's just got it's only 5 kilometer range. Look at the damage output on this Minotaur. He's already down to half health. We're setting fires on top of that. Granted, he's got a super heal, but he's not going to be able to get a second one off before I just completely smack him. I could be firing armor piercing into him right now, but this is only my 2nd or 3rd game in this thing, and I want to test out the high explosive. Look at each salvo, 3 seconds. It's about 4 or 5k. There's nothing, he can't angle on it or anything. If he goes bow in, I'll still be able to pen his bow, and he's only got half his gun shooting at me, so what's he gonna do? Just the front guns were getting 3,500 salvos. Breaking his torpedo tubes. Here's the armor piercing. 2 salvos, armor piercing to the Citadel, and he's dead. Honestly, I think that the Minotaur's already been power crept. This Colbert definitely needs to be toned down before it gets released, because Legendary Tier is going to be flooded with them, absolutely flooded. I don't even know what to say with Wargaming about this one. Hopefully they tune it down sooner rather than later. Luckily, it's only available, I think, for another couple days, like another week or so. But you guys definitely need to try this thing out while it is in the current state. especially just to kind of get a feel for it, get a feel for the armor. Like I said before, you give any sort of angle, you're pretty much dead to whatever's shooting at you. I'm going to come into a, not a 1v1, but he's going to be focusing me. I think only his front turrets. And I'm given maybe a 30-degree angle, maybe 20. And he actually pens me through the rear part of the ship. He doesn't citadel me, but he pens right through it at a 20-degree angle. He takes about half of my health just from his front turrets. So definitely be wary with the armor on this thing and the lower health. It feels like you get citadeled every time that you get shot. We're pushing into B, and we're gonna be coming up to a Conqueror is gonna get spotted out there, as well as the mines. Take a couple shots at the mines, but the Conqueror is really what I'm worried about, because like I said before, you can get citadeled by the Conqueror with his high explosive. I think they citadel you for about 8,000. You know, that's a quarter of your health just from one shell hitting you in the right spot. So that is the biggest weakness to the Colbert, in my opinion. That, and if anything that gets a broadside on it will delete it. But mainly the Conqueror doesn't care what way you're pointing; it's just going to destroy you. Now, granted, the Conqueror is getting shot by a couple different people, but I'm pretty sure I'm taking the majority of his health, even with just the front guns. And wait till we get all the guns onto his broadside. I mean, you got to figure that's about 3 to 4K every 3 seconds into his broadside. And these are, like I said, these are only 127s. I don't know what they did with the penetration values, but the high explosive pens just about anything. It's almost like it has EOP with the high explosive like built into it. It must have the quarter pen or whatever. And the armor piercing is no slouch either at range. And a broadsides like that, you'd think that they'd be shattering a lot more than they do. I don't know if the guns are just that accurate and they're hitting the right spot, or they buff the pen values of these armor piercing rounds as well. So there's the Alaska. We're gonna get into almost a 1v1 with him in a little bit. He will be getting shot by other people. Just wait to see what we do to him, and look at the angle that I'm giving him when he does take the one shot at me. And just pay attention to that, because you'll see what I mean as far as even giving just a little bit of angle and you can get deleted in this thing. We're already up to 129,000. We took a couple shots at the Georgia and the Bismarck. There's 4K on the broadside Alaska with high explosive. And so is the Bismarck, the Georgia. We 1v1 the Minotaur, destroyed him. I think we took 40 or 50K from him. And then we got a broadside into the Conqueror, and you know, that was probably, what, 2 minutes of actually shooting your guns? If you get this thing on a flank, you'll destroy battleships. You can rip apart an entire flank if you position this thing in the right spot. And here comes the Alaska salvo. I am going to push forward and angle in a little bit. He pens me towards the rear and takes half of my life. Just gotta watch the armor on this thing, watch the angle. And I guess we can go over the consumables. It does have a heal. I had fully packed. It gets 4. At base is 3. You get 4 heals with fully packed. It also has a sonar. I think the sonar is 4.4 kilometers for ships, and probably like high 2s or low 3s for torpedoes. And the speed boost is extremely useful on this ship. Most French cruisers do get it. I think all of them actually do. But the speed boost with this thing, I do have it spec'd a little bit for speed. I think one of my inspirations is extra 4.5%. But even so, with the speed boost and that, this thing's gonna get up to 43 knots. and that is fast enough to catch down most destroyers at this tier, even with their speed boosts, or at least match them, barring the Russian or the French destroyers. I'm actually going to hunt down the Shima. I don't think he was expecting me to be moving this fast, because he only has like a 4.7, 4.8 kilometer detection. But once we straighten out here after dodging the torps, you're going to see how fast we get up to, and we're going to catch him by surprise. Because there's no reason he should have been lingering around that long. He already launched his torps. So I know where he is, because the other battleship down there, he said he got spotted. I've been spotted for a while. I knew he kind of pushed in this way, especially by judging by the way the torps were going. The follow which way they get launched, you can get a general idea of which way they're headed. And this Shima's already done for. Whether or not the battleships were shooting at him, he can't even get away from me. Because we're actually catching up to him. And there he goes. So 160k, we are going to stick around and cap the base, because I spent my last 2 million actually buying this ship. I had to rip the modules off of another ship and throw them on. And I need the cash. Wouldn't even be surprised if I lost cash on this one, I don't know. We're going to stick around and cap it, but there is a Yamato who's not playing. And this is, so if you catch targets that are stationary, I think he's going to be about 12 kilometers out. Just take a look at the damage you're going to get off of stationary battleships. And they don't even necessarily need to be stationary. Let's talk about the shell arcs. So with 127s, I was expecting them to be more Atlanta-esque, you know, where you're shooting them up and over the moon to get to your target. Long flight time. The flight time on these shells really isn't that long. I would compare them more to like, they're not the fastest, they're not Russian by any means. I would compare them more to like the Weimar, more like a medium, you know, launch up, but they still have a good shell speed. If they were to tune this thing down, that's probably something they should look into, because it's just way too easy to hit your targets with these guns. Whether they're going to tune down the damage, tune down the shell velocity, or just tune down the penetration values, any one of those things would help balance this thing. But I am going to destroy this Yamato, take about half, maybe a little over half of his health within 40 seconds. And that's about 2 of his reloads. So if he doesn't kill you on the first shot, and you manage to get to cover, you'll be able to kill him just about when he's reloading his second shot. Keeping in mind that he's at about half health. And he catches you out in the open. So that is the Colbert for you guys. Thanks for watching. Definitely try it out. Hit like, subscribe, be back for more vids. Later.